Warsaw is a safe, fun-filled city in Poland with a vibrant nightlife, beautiful women, and a decent cost of living. In this video, I am going to share with you everything you need to know to have the best possible summer trip to Warsaw this summer. I'm going to go through it all A to Z, from pre-trip planning, where to stay, how to meet women. We're going to get into it all in this full guide. But first, make sure to smash that like button. It costs you nothing, it means the world to me. Now, with that said, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, welcome to the channel. I'm Joshua Hall. I've been to over 50 different countries. I've lived in multiple different countries, and I've been doing this for around a decade. So let's get into this video. So as it pertains to pre-trip planning, you're obviously going to need to get your documents in order. And this is going to vary depending on what country you are coming from. So obviously you need to have your passport, but depending on where you're coming from, you might need to have a visa. You might need proof of onward travel. You might need travel insurance. You're going to need to do that sort of research to ensure you have all these things in place. Now, outside of that, obviously, I would recommend having a separate travel cell phone. And this is a phone that is unlocked, which means you own it outright. And you can put whatever SIM card you want in there. And one thing I should add is I would recommend having an actual SIM card slot. So you don't want to have eSIMs. You want to be able to put a physical eSIM, a physical SIM into that phone, because in general, that's how you can get the best rates and overall the best deals. Now you'll have to wait until you get to the actual country in order to purchase that physical SIM card. But obviously pre-trip, you need to have that unlocked cell phone, unless you're perfectly happy whatever your roaming charges may be. And the reason I say you want a second phone if you're going to do this is because depending on your first phone, you don't want to have to take out your physical SIM and put in a different SIM, because that's going to screw up your whole phone, right? So you want two separate phones ideally. And your travel phone doesn't need to be a super fancy phone. It just needs to be something to get the job done. Also, on the topic at hand, you're going to want a world travel adapter, because the plugs in Europe are different than the plugs in the United States. Shocker. So if you want to be able to charge your things and plug things into the wall, you're going to need that world travel adapter. Now, some other things you need to be aware of is they are not a euro-based country. They use the Polish złoty, which usually trades around 4.2-ish to $1 US. For simplicity's sake, I just round it down to 4 to 1 so that you can do the math more easily when you see prices at a restaurant, for example. And for the most part, it is not a cash-based society, so if you have contactless, Apple Pay, that kind of thing, you'll be able to get around extremely easily. Most of the public transportation, for example, is going to have that contactless payment option, as well as most restaurants and museums and other things that you would be interested in doing. Now, if you do want to have cash on hand, you want to make sure of two things. You probably want to have multiple debit or credit cards on hand, and you also want to make sure your bank is aware that you are traveling. And then thirdly, with those things out of the way, when you do take money out of ATMs, you want to make sure to decline the conversion rates, because they are going to give you a really bad conversion rate, and they're essentially just robbing money from you. So make sure to decline that conversion rate. Now, where to stay? This obviously depends on a variety of factors: who you are, what you're interested in, your budget. Are you traveling solo? Are you traveling with family, friends? Who knows? Now, for me, I in general want to be in a walkable place that is close to nightlife and good dining. So for me, the best areas to stay, in my humble opinion, are going to be Powieśla and Newtown, specifically Foxville and Nowy Świat. Those are in general the best places that I would recommend you to stay if you are interested in the same things that I shared with you earlier. It's also going to be relatively close to most of the sites and museums and things of that nature as well, which are mainly going to be located more towards Old Town. Now, when it comes to finding a place to stay, there's obviously Airbnb, Booking.com, hotels, and your standard options, which are probably going to be your best bet for short-term stays. And all those places I just mentioned are going to have a range of budget options. One thing I would recommend is depending on the length of your stay, and I would say a short-term stay, anything around 30 days or less. And what I would do is I would book your hotel or Airbnb for just 3 days to make sure you like that area, to make sure it's an area you jive with, and to make sure that that place fits your needs. And that way you aren't dedicated to a place for 30 days if that's how long you're staying, sight unseen. Now obviously if it's a hotel you probably have less to worry about, but in general that is what I would recommend. Now for longer term stays, anything pretty much over a month, what I would do is I would do practically the same thing, but first I would join Facebook groups looking for accommodations. You're going to have to make some posts letting people know what you're searching for. Then I would book your hotel or Airbnb for 3 to 7 days and do the exact same thing that I shared with you earlier. You know, make sure that it fits the bill, make sure it's the area you want to be in. But here's the kicker, and this is something that could save you a ton of money. When you find the area you want to be in, and if that's where your Airbnb is, then here's what you need to do. You need to walk around looking for rent signs. And some of these places are going to be for rent weekly, monthly, what may have you, and they're probably going to have a lot better prices than the prices advertised in English on Airbnb or on Facebook or what may have you. Because those prices are artificially inflated because they are obviously marketing to people who speak English and not locals. And one other tip I would give you is when you do book an Airbnb, if you are going the Airbnb route and you're only booking it for 3 days and it's a place you might want to stay for 30, let the host know that, hey, over the next 3 days, I'm just going to check out the place, and if it looks good to me, I'm going to be booking for an additional month or what may have you. And you want to do that to make sure they don't rent it out while you're checking it out. And obviously, you'll have to make sure it's actually available when you're going through the booking process on Airbnb or what may have you. Now, once you know where you're staying, how to get from the airport to the Airbnb or hotel, pretty straightforward. You can get a taxi, which is probably going to be $15 at most, depending on how far away from the airport you're going, obviously. But the taxi rates should be posted to the general area that you're going to be going to, so there's not really that much of a risk of a scam. There's also Uber, but if you don't have data or if you can't access the Wi-Fi to the airport for some reason, then obviously you need to have some backup plans. Another option is public transportation. Most of you would probably be taking the S2 train if you're taking my suggestion on the best areas to stay. There's another train, and there's also a bus, and then there's like a private chauffeur if you really want to get fancy. But I'd say for 99.99% of people watching this video, a taxi or the S2 train is going to solve all your problems there, so you don't have much to worry about. Also, the company I would recommend for getting your SIM card would be Orange. In my experience, they have the best rates and the most accessible data. But getting a SIM card is something I would do once you actually get into the city. And then finally, how to meet women. Now, Warsaw, pretty decent sized population. There's a large student population, especially in the downtown, Old Town, New Town area, because the University of Warsaw is right there. So it's really gonna be the usual suspects. About 10 days before leaving, I would get on the dating apps and start swiping away. Then you can obviously do cold approaches, and then there's bars, nightclubs. Like I said, the usual suspects. You probably won't be able to do Social Circle in a limited amount of time, and most of you watching this video probably don't have any social connections in Poland at this time. So that's kind of ruled out for the purpose of this video. So like I said, it's really the usual suspects when it comes to meeting women. No magic bullets here. So that's going to wrap up this video. Thank you for watching. I truly appreciate it. I hope this video was helpful and insightful. If you have any questions, comment down below. And make sure to smash that like button if you haven't already. And I will see you guys in the next video. And as always, peace, much love.